Hey there, mamas! You are listening to Release Your Inner Power podcast, where we talk about having both me time and being the best mom, sharing stories, encouragement, and tips for taking the steps to release that inner power and that mom guilt. I'm your host, Shauna B. Here we go. Are you tired of feeling overwhelmed and stuck in the chaos of life? It's time to reclaim your peace and your power. Guess what? I have something for you. A free checklist that will transform your days from chaos to calm, helping you boost your day and set yourself up for success. Just imagine waking up each morning with more clarity and purpose, ready to tackle whatever comes your way. This checklist is designed specifically for women like you who are ready to prioritize their well-being and their productivity during the day. Simple yet powerful strategies. This checklist will guide you through creating a morning routine that sets a positive tone for your entire day. Say goodbye to stress and hello to more calmness. From mindfulness practices to time management tips, each item on this list is carefully made to help you get a sense of calm amidst all of the chaos in daily life. You'll be amazed on how small changes can make such a big difference. Don't let another day slip by feeling overwhelmed and frazzled. Get your free checklist and start this journey from chaos to calm. It's time to take control of your life, my friend, and thrive. Check out the show notes for the link to get your checklist today. And remember, you deserve to feel empowered, motivated, and some more in each day of your life. This next guest is one of my dearest friends. She is a mom who has been recently divorced, trying to find her path in her journey of what it looks like to put all these pieces back together with her and her 3 children. I cannot wait for you to hear some of her story. Here is Sewsen. Welcome back to the Release Your Inner Power podcast. I have a special featured mama today who's near and dear to me. Her name is Sewsen. Welcome, Sewsen, to the show.
Thanks for having me. Hello.
I'm excited. I'm really curious what kind of stories you're going to be bringing. It's going to be great. Tell us about you. Tell us about Sewsen and a little bit of your story.
Well, I was with my ex-husband for 20 years. Since I was 18, he was 23. We have 3 kids together. And recently in March of 2023, we got a divorce. So being a single mom, trying to juggle work and trying to put my happiness first has been a struggle for me. Feeling guilty in anything that I do for myself, even after taking care of the kids and home, is just something that I'm battling myself. But I didn't realize how much I was suppressing my happiness until I was a single mom. So I'm working through that.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? When you say you haven't realized, can you tell me a little bit more? Like, what do you think was the like, oh, my words are escaping me right now, but like, what do you think was the thing that was like masking it to where you like really couldn't tell or see it until you realized? Like, what was the before and then the realization?
I don't know if it was my ex-husband's presence, him being there, and me just doing what I have to do and not what I needed to do, just what I have to do. Mm-hmm. With life, work, being a wife, also helping take care of my mom because she's elderly. I think that was suppressed. And then once he left, it's almost like a weight was lifted off my shoulder. But I don't know if I'm completely there yet, though, honestly. As far as my happiness, I'm still trying to figure out what makes Sewsen happy.
Yeah. It's interesting that you asked that question, because I think that there are people out there that get stuck in the, like you said, the doing the have tos, right? The being the wife and the mom, and then taking care of others and working and like doing the things that we have to do in order to like, just make your life a life, right? Yeah. And you end up sacrificing things, but not even realizing it. Like, it's not even purposeful. You're just like, oh, that can wait. And it's always like turns into like the never plan, because you keep pushing it back. And then when something changes, you have to like redo your habits or what you're going to do, like even your day-to-day life, like when you're in it, you're divorced now, you're separate, so now you almost have like two separate households, so you can kind of like shift things around of like, this is what this is going to look like now. And then you're like, oh, it's like a veil thing has been lifted and you're like, oh,
Right.
I haven't been doing this for how long? And you like forget your own stuff. You
Hmm.
forget, like, you might not even remember what your freaking favorite meal is because you're used to cooking for everybody else. Or like, do you even like to go out dancing anymore? How long has that been? I don't even know. Can I dance? I don't know. Like it's been too it's been like too long that you like almost forget it's in there. You just gotta find it.
You get lost. You have to find yourself again. And that's
Yeah.
where I'm at. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So what do you like? What kinds of things what have you found? Like what have you found to where you're like, oh, there's something, like what, or do you have something of what you like, a habit or something of how you're shifting that to find things that you actually do like or remember things that you like?
I've been diving more into working out. That has been even like getting off work before I used to be like, I'm going to sleep. I'm too tired now. That's not what I do. I come home and make sure I work out because it, excuse me, it helps me mentally, physically, like in every aspect. Um, I still like to I love music, I love dancing, but again, when people ask me, do you want to go out, in the back of my head, it's like, should I be going out or should I be at home with my kids? And my kids are pretty big, you know, 19, 18, and 11, they're big kids, but still, it's just the guilt that I have. But I still want to do all this stuff. I'm really trying to find my route. I don't know.
But I think the big thing is like the key statement right there is I'm still trying to find my route because you're willing to stick a toe in.
Mhm.
You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like you're like, okay, I'm gonna stick a toe, and then you're like, oh, but should I? And then you go through this whole like mental battle. Like I feel like as moms, you just do, especially when you have big change, right?
Mhm.
Um, like when I went through my divorce, I was pulled in it was like tug of war. It was like I was pulled in, I should be home, but I really want to go out and do this. And then I would like go through this whole tug of war battle. But I was like, okay. And then sometimes I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do this because I'm having this battle,
Yeah.
right? I'm going to go do this so I can like fill myself up so I can be like a happy mom instead of like the like bitter crabby mom because it's like you're just all the stuff's happening and you just want to go do something for yourself but then you feel bad and it actually comes out in like bitter snippiness instead of like,
Right.
oh, yeah, no, that's not so great. I should probably figure out some break or something that I can do for myself so I'm not like snipping and snapping at your kiddos. But I like how you said that you're trying because it's
Mhm.
showing that you're like sticking a toe in, you're like not willing, you're not saying no. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the thing. I'm gonna keep trying.
Yeah. And also, I was speaking with someone and she was telling me how a lot of stuff purges out even after you've been divorced for a while. It just takes your body a while to purge everything out. And I didn't realize that. And I'm seeing that too with like just my nervous system. And that's just a lot of stuff. Like I'm figuring things out now.
It's cool too, because when you go through the process of it, of like shedding, that's what I call
Yes.
it. It's like shedding.
That's exactly what
Like,
it
yeah, you like shed the person first. Okay. The person goes. And
is.
then, like, yes, you're still in contact with them, but like their presence around all the time is a huge shift. And I don't know about you, but for me, like before I shedded the person, I felt like I had to walk on eggshells a lot of the time. Otherwise, shit was going to go sideways and it was going to be like this whole thing. And I didn't even want to, sometimes I just didn't have the energy for it. Like I was just not, I didn't. But once the
Yeah.
person was gone, it was like all the eggshells went with. They were not there. And I'm like, whoa. And it was like you said earlier, like the weight lifted off your shoulders. You were like, I, I remember like it was palpable for me. Like I remember walking up the stairs after work one time and I'm like, whoa. Like I'm relaxed right now. I'm not tense. I'm not bouncing around things. I'm not, let me fix it. Let me whatever. Like it was easy.
Mhm.
Easy. And I'm like, whoa, is this? And that's what opened the door for me because I was like, is this really, is this really what I can have? Like I can come home and it can feel like this.
Right.
Awesome. Like, yes, more please, and then just kind of like you said, like working at it, sticking a toe in, like, oh, and as you go, the more time you're away, the more time you form and put your pieces back together and you form this new whatever you want it to be because you don't have to limit yourself. You can,
Right.
I mean, it is like you can run the show. I mean, you should be able to run the show as your own life anyway, but it's harder when you have, kids and things pulling you in different directions because then you got to like do the whole mind gym battle thing. But it's just as you go, the more shedding you do, it's like the lighter and lighter, and the more like, heck yeah, like comes back in because you are allowing it, because you're open to it. Some
Right.
people it's hard. Some people it's hard to even try or stick a toe in or be like, I can't do that, but you can. And
Yeah.
that's really cool that you're doing that because you're just like, I know I can. And you, like you said it, you're like, and then I feel bad because I got to be home with my kids. And then you're like, but do I have to be home with my kids?
Do I though? Yeah.
Okay, I can do this one. I can do this one.
No, and the great thing is the girls, like, they're very supportive. They're like, go have a good time. And that's the crazy thing. They are super supportive, but it's just something within me that I have to work through.
Yeah. And it's
Mhm.
it's changed. It's different,
Mhm.
right? Like it's just gonna take practice. I mean, I
Yeah.
know doesn't everybody just love that? Oh, it takes practice. It's like, oh, shut up
Right.
about the practice. It's real, like,
Yeah.
once you get through, like, the first few times, then you're like, "Oh, this does feel easier," it gets easier every time, but
Mhm.
the willingness to do it is awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so I know you touched a little bit, on your how like, your momhood and, like, what your mom's story is. Can you give us a little bit more background on what that looks like for you?
Like my day to day,
Yeah.
before or after. Single mom or non-single mom? I guess it doesn't make a difference. I was doing it all. I just had a human body
Yeah.
next to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, my day to day is crazy. I typically I take my youngest to school in the morning, then I'm taking my 18-year-old to school to work, which is an hour road trip there and back.
Good on
Um
you.
and then after that, I try to get my workout in. So I go straight to the gym. I'll do my workout. Then I'll come home. Um, on my way home, if I need to, I'll stop at the grocery store and I try to cook. And that's the thing. I think, like, when you brought up cooking, I tend to cook for them first because I'm a vegan. And once I'm done with that, I'm pooped. I'm like, I don't want to cook for myself. I'll
Yeah.
end, I'll end up probably just drinking some tea, get my caffeine up, grab a fruit, and yes, and then I'm tired.
Yeah.
But pretty much that's my day. Then I pick up the little one at 2:30, pick up the big one from work at 5:30, and we're doing the shit all over again.
Different day.
It's consistent. And then on days I'm on call, I can't do much because I'm on call.
Yeah.
Um, and then Fridays typically I meal prep for myself. Mondays or Tuesdays is for the girls. I'll meal prep, and then Fridays is my day to meal prep for my weekend. Mhm.
Yeah, when you say for your weekend, what does that mean?
Because I work Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I know that, but the listeners don't know
Yeah, I forget.
that. Yeah, so yeah, and I feel like too, when just like you saying meal prepping, sometimes I feel like that's such a friggin' battle for moms to like meal prep or think about food. It's overwhelming. And like you said, being a vegan too, your meals are gonna be different if your kids aren't vegan. And it's just sometimes that's like, what?
Yeah, all
Like
right.
meal planning and prepping is the thing. That's the thing to get over because once you do it, it's like so easy, but it's just like, oh god,
It's a job. It's a straight up job.
it
It
is.
requires hours of, yes. But
It
so
is.
that's,
If I
and
could hire somebody to do that for me, ooh, that'd just be great. I would love that.
hey, when you find one, you let me know.
Oh yeah, I know. Can I outsource that? Because that's the biggest headache that I hate. And you do it twice.
Seriously.
You do it twice.
Right. But yeah. It's,
Yeah, that's busy.
look,
So how you said you had 3, and I think you said you had 2 daughters and a son. So how old is
I
your middle?
forget. I feel like I'm just talking to Shauna. Shauna already knows me. So my son is 19. My second child, Mackenzie's 18, and then Munira, my last little girl, is 11.
Okay.
So two out of high school and then one in middle school.
So how does that, like, how do you feel about, with all the change and stuff? Like, I know you said that your girls are pretty supportive and they want you to like go have fun and all that, but like, what is that like for you with them? Like, have they, just like having all this change and stuff and doing everything and trying to come up with your own like new path with them?
Um, Honestly, I don't think it was much of a change because a lot of times when their dad was home, the girls would just want to be with me. So we always did stuff together. And he used to be in his little mood and he would want to stay home. So of course I wasn't gonna rain on my kids' parade. I would pack them up and we would go and do our thing. So the change isn't much, but the girls felt the same way, like a weight off their shoulders as well.
Yeah, I was
Because
just gonna ask that.
yeah, he didn't know how to differentiate me and the girls. When he was upset, he lashed out,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So they felt it as well.
Yeah, well, and I think there's something to be said about the kids too, because I think naturally kids are going to be protective of their parents, right? Regardless if it's the mom or the dad, whichever one is, you know, receiving all of that stuff. I feel like they're a little protective anyways, and that just
Mhm.
affects them. Even when we think as adults, like we're keeping it from them and we're not having conversation, they can feel it. They know. They
Yes,
know. Even when you're like, oh yeah, I think I'm being super sneaky. No, you're not.
not at all.
They can feel it. They know if you are okay or if you are not okay. And sometimes, at least in my household, if I'm upset about something, I have to like talk about it and like let them know, because if I try to basically fake the funk in my house, which I'm horrible at because I just like to be real, but if I try to fake it, then they start getting crabby and I'm like, crap. And then now we're all crabby and then the whole house is just like, this is
Right.
insane. I got to get out of here. So I have to like really kind of like manage the ship, if you will,
Yeah,
with all of that. It can be a challenge sometimes.
it is. It is, especially with work coming. You know how work can be
Yeah.
overwhelming. Come in, and I felt like before I got my divorce, I brought that tension on top of, I think maybe I didn't want to coming home, work
Mhm.
issue coming home and having to deal with him. I felt like my kids probably seen a lot of that with me, like how I was irritated and they can sense it and feel it. And it's a lot better now.
Yeah. Yeah. So what types of things like what types of things did you do for yourself or that you do now, or is it different when you first got a divorce to now? Like has it changed much for like your me time? Like what things are like non-negotiable that you have to do? I know you said working out is like the thing that you have to do because of how much it affects like all the things in a good way. And I kind of
Mhm.
love to do it after work because you can just take all that work shit and just
I
like get
love
it
it.
out afterwards. Oh my gosh. If I could do that after work, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. Oh,
I
so good on you
I've
for
been
that.
doing yeah, I've been doing a lot of I've maybe the changes that I wasn't doing then, at least not consistent, was I'm working on journaling because you told me about that. So that's been
Mhm,
working. Meditation is not as easy as it seems.
mhm.
I'm working on that, and then yoga.
Yeah, meditation is definitely it's that P word. It's a
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
It's definitely a practice that I also do that.
Mhm.
And I find that there's like I find that there's because I work 12s, and so I work 12-hour shifts sometimes, and a lot of times I try to do it in the mornings, but if I'm really tired and I start to do meditation, I'll just go to sleep. You know what I mean? I'll just go to sleep. And then other times if I'm like on and I'm like doing all the stuff and like trying to clean and do all the things and then to, like, you want me to sit down for 10 minutes? Whoo! Like sometimes that's a different shift.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that what you're talking about when you say that it's hard to do, or is it hard to do? Like what's hard? What's hard about it?
Focusing. My brain will go elsewhere. It's like, okay, do I have enough groceries? What am I cooking? And I'm like, listen, focus, reel them in.
Yeah, the list. But that's okay, here's the P word again. But that's the practice, right? I feel like because we have all these things to do,
Yeah.
it's like check, 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 check. Like that's just how it goes. But I think the whole practice is to be like, yes, list, I see you. Excuse me. right? And you might have to do that like 20 times. So how I started was like doing it. I did it like, okay, I'm going to do 2 minutes because hopefully I can't fall asleep in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So like, I'm going to do 2 minutes. And then if something comes up, because my mind will do the same thing. And I'm just like, excuse me, like, and I try to focus on one of my senses. So if I'm like hearing something, like if I'm hearing water or if I'm hearing rain or if I'm hearing like my heater or the fan or whatever, I try to focus on one of my senses or smelling something or, just do I feel cold? If I shift it to that, I feel like I can focus more because I'm giving my mind a job.
Yeah.
Just to get the list to shut up.
Right. Have a seat.
Yeah. 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 So, I mean, I totally hear you, but I love that you have working out, yoga, and you have meditation and that is that different from before?
Before, well, the workout was there, but before everything wasn't consistent. When
Oh,
I
I
didn't
see.
have my days, I used to be like, I'm not doing it right now.
Yeah. So you're pretty consistent with those things and even like, I really love that you said journaling because that is a whole thing of like clearing your mind and getting stuff out. Moving it so it's not just sitting in there. So that's
Right.
not part of the list.
No, right. Right. And it works. It works. I honestly didn't think it did, but it definitely works. It dumps everything out of my brain. Because sometimes it's overcapacity.
Right. It's interesting that you say that because there's a lot of things too. There's a lot of tools out there that some people are like, oh, that's not going to work, but they haven't tried it yet. And then sometimes when they try it, they're like, okay, fine, it works. Like, okay, fine, it works. Or
Kind of
like,
hard to admit.
yeah. But at the same time, like, what do you have to lose too? Like, if you
Right.
don't do it, you're on the same thing. But if you're like, oh, if I try this thing and it works, then you have like all this stuff to gain. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. Just try, try something else.
Right. Right.
But
But I guess if you was to ask me this years ago, I would tell you I do have a lot to lose. I have time to lose. So someone might feel that way, like,
that's
why would I waste my
interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because yes, time is the thing. Time's the
Yeah.
valuable thing because it's irreplaceable. So
Right.
right, you want to choose the things that are going to be most valuable to your time. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But I feel like journaling is a pretty quick, it's kind of like working out. It's a pretty quick like feedback. You get feedback quickly. Like you feel better after journaling, just kind of like working out. You feel different, you feel better. It's like in the same day you can see the
Right.
difference. And
Right.
so I feel like that those are one of those things, if you like stick your toe in and try, you're like, oh yes, okay, this is actually worth my time. It's not like you're doing something for months and months and you're just like
Waiting on results. Yeah.
happening and it never does,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Let me
so
ask
what,
you this.
huh?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How long after your divorce do you feel like you were at a good place? Like a happy place?
That's a good
Gosh.
question. That's a good question. Because you mean like fully, like, okay, so this is how I would answer that. I feel like when I had that palpable experience after my divorce, it was 2-3 weeks after he was out of the house. And
Mhm.
then as time went on, something else, where it was like the shedding and the feeling better and the feeling lighter.
Mhm.
Or so it's to me, it was the freedom of constant growth that I could do without having interference of something that was keeping me from doing that. So I believe that I felt it was like at least a year before I was like, okay, I feel like I feel like the pieces are down. And now I'm going to try to like live like this and see. And then a full other year where I didn't hear a voice in my head telling me things,
Yeah.
right? Like the voice that you would always hear about, the nagging, that stuff, that wasn't
Mhm.
coming back for me anymore. Like I had worked through that. But I would say it took about 2 solid years before I was like, oh, okay, I got this now.
Okay. So I got a year and a half left.
Mhm. Yeah. But I don't feel like it was like ups and downs. I feel like I did the grieving and the processing like before it actually happened. And then when it happened, it was almost like the tornado went through, all the pieces are up. The first year is like, okay, I'm going to put this piece here and this here and this here, and like giving myself this freedom to like make it how I want
Yeah.
to. And how do I want this to look like? And like almost erasing the whiteboard and like putting the pieces back on there. And then once I did that, I was like, okay, now I want to try to like live this out and see if this is what really truly brings me the happiness and the joy and all the things. And then the ones that did, I would just nurture that more. And then it's so crazy how when you truly find something that makes you happier to do things, how other doors open up for you. And like, if you were to tell me, if you were to tell me 3 years ago that I would be sitting right here doing a podcast, I would own my own coaching business and all of the things, I would be like, excuse me, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be like, I would have came up with all of these like crazy beliefs to keep me from doing. Like, I'm a single mom of 3 kids. There's no way, blah blah blah. But then like you start paying attention to what makes you happy and what really gets you, like excited about like the next day or something to look forward to or what have you. And all these opportunities open up and it becomes easier. So I feel like it's kind of slow in the beginning and then it starts like a train, just starts getting faster and faster. And then you're like, okay, but when you're in tune, and I think you are, like what you're seeing and noticing things and noticing change, you then will feel more of that. You'll see it. You'll be like, oh, there's something else. And you'll just start feeling better, especially when you flex that muscle against the I should be at home with my kids, working on that.
Yeah.
That becomes easier. And then you have more opportunities where you're like, okay, this is what makes Sewsen happy. This is what makes, makes me excited about XYZ.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say for me, it was 2 years.
That makes sense.
And not rush it, right? Like not rush it, just take the time, do the things, feel all the things. Because there's going to be times where you're going to feel stuff and you're going to be pissed off. And, because we have that lovely thing called expectations of where we thought we were going to be at whatever age. And it's not that. So you got to work through that also. Like it's multi-sided of working through stuff,
Yeah.
And as long as you're open to it and doing it, like once you get through it and do this, it's so much better on the other side. It's like so much more lighter and freer. And, like you said, the weight, it's crazy. It's crazy how much you can feel it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, share, I always like to ask people like what they're passionate about, like what gets them, really excited and like full of energy and like want to do more.
Again, I think I surround everything with my kids. What gets me going is just making sure my kids are okay. Being fortunate enough to be able to provide my kids with a roof over their head and not being able to depend on, like, I don't have to depend on their that. I don't have to ask them for anything. So that brings joy to me that my kids seem happy, they're healthy. That brings me joy. And it keeps me pushing through.
Yeah. That was one of the main reasons that pushed me to leave also, was because I knew that I could do that and I knew it was best for them, make them happy. And I, and like making memories, I feel like we're similar in that way. Like we would rather do an experience with them and like go do something fun or go on a trip or like, make these memories for them, like with them, and do experiences with them too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can say that while I was going through the divorce, I didn't question whether I can do it or not. Even though I knew in the back of my head I could, I was still concerned. Can I really do it? Which is why I probably stayed in the marriage as long as I did, because I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Believing. That's that brain dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's just a thing also, is like the fear of questioning, like, can I do it? And then like about the kids, like, is this going to mess up the kids? Is this going to break up a family? Is this going to, all of those questions. And like you said, can I do it? I mean, yeah, like that's a total legit and real question and a real feeling. And I feel that questioning the question, like question that brain dragon and being like, well, like, why couldn't I do this by myself?
Yeah.
Right. And then like really looking at the stuff like, you have a really good job, you have insurance, you know that you can provide for them, right? So it's almost like reassuring with the facts of what is,
Yeah.
because that brain dragon sneaky and it likes to come in and freaking make up situations and scenarios to throw you off your, your path.
Right.
And I think it's important that when you recognize it like that, which you did eventually because you're now divorced, so you eventually did. And I think it just takes time. I think it just takes time, but really recognizing that and being like, well, why can't I, and questioning it, because if it's really true to you, the answer is not going to change.
Right.
But if it is not true for you, it's going to be like all this other, all of this, like, well, I don't know if I can do it. And I don't know, I don't know if I can do it. Am I going to ruin my kids? Is this going to mess up the family? Like, blah, blah, like all these other questions are going to come up. That's how you're like, okay, get that crap out of here. And like,
Right.
look at what actually is and what is going on.
Absolutely. Get out of your head.
Yeah. It's that brain dragon's pretty tricky. It'll use circumstances, situations. It wants you to stay right where it knows what's going to happen.
Right.
It doesn't want change. Change is the dragon sphere, right? So usually if mine comes up and I'm like doing the whole like mind battle in there, sometimes I'm like, I'm going to lean into exactly what I was going to do, because if this is coming up, then I wonder how good this is going to be on the other side for me, because I'm going through this.
Yeah.
And then looking at the stuff like like when I went on this crazy adventure trip, like I'm going to be fine. My kids are taken care of, I'm going to go have this really awesome experience. So it's like, shut up, brain dragon. I'm going to go do the thing. And then I go do it and I come back and I'm like, what? Like it was like what I was supposed to do. But the dragon was like, are you sure you want to do that?
Right.
Trying to keep you like right here, and you're not living. Staying right here on that wheel, you're not living for you. You're just repeating.
Well, also it's a reset. I feel like when you're doing things for yourself, right outside your kids, it's a reset for you.
Totally. It's a total reset. It fills you up, so you can be like the fun, like, yeah, we're going to go on this trip. We're going to have fun. And it's not like the stressful thing of like, oh my God, we're going on a trip. It's like the other way.
Yeah. Right. Just need to implement that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It does reset. That's a really good way to say it. I always say like fill yourself up, but I like reset a lot because it definitely resets you. So you can like come back and I don't know. It's just different. I don't know how to explain it. When you go and do all of that stuff and then you come back to your house, it's like you're bringing all of that like goodness with you. And it's just, you don't realize that you're sharing it just through your interaction with them.
Right. I feel like you're just being charged up when you're out there doing you. Now you come back and you're ready, fully charged.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a challenge. It's rewarding, but it's a challenge.
Yeah. I feel like the things that push you to grow also through different, situations, I feel like you just come out on the other side like so much stronger, so much, better, that you don't realize that when you have to make the decision, you're like right there and you're like, oh, like I don't know, and then sometimes I'm like leaning in, like I just throw it out just to see, because like nothing's gonna like, it's not like detrimental to my family.
Yeah.
So like that, it's not like a life or death. It's not a life or death decision. And I should not be exhausting my brain and all the things on. It's like, what are the facts? They're going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. We're leaning into this.
Absolutely.
Because I want to be charged up. I want to come back and be like, heck yeah, this is awesome. I don't want to be like exhausted and, drinking 40 ounces of coffee a day and like, oh my God, is it bedtime yet? Can it be the next day? Is it the next day? I don't want that.
Right. They don't want that either.
No, they're We're like, Mom, what's going on?
Right.
She's like, no, I don't want to. Or like, excuse me, but we want to go do this, and we want to go to the park, and we want to or mall, or go shopping, or whatever. They want to do something. They don't want to just be like, are you okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
No fun. Well, out of all of the things that we chatted about today, is there anything else that you want to add or say, or something that you learned, or something that's
I
also helped you through this process?
um I would probably just like to say, for any women who are in the process of thinking about divorce and asking themselves, can I do it? And will I be happy? You can do it. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. But for every, setback that you have, there's a come up, and it's going to be all right. That's what I would say. Because I remember you telling me that years ago, and I'm just like, I hear you, Shauna. I hear you, but until you're in it, you won't believe it.
Right.
But it's possible. Yeah.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
I like to ask all of my women on here what their superpower is, because we have many, but I want to hear which one you would like to share with us today.
I think my superpower is, regardless of how I feel, how tired I am, how mad I am, I'm able to push through. Like you can't tell. And that comes with anything, whether it's work, home, friends. I can suppress it. And it's not that I'm hiding it, it's just there's a time and place for everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I can attest to that. I've seen it. I've seen it. Like, you're really good at that. But that's great, because that's boundaries. That's practicing really good boundaries, and you, like you said, and you don't suppress it, and you process it when you're supposed to, instead
Right.
of, just like letting it fly out everywhere, which is great.
Right. No.
I love that one. That one's awesome. Thank you for sharing
What's
that.
your superpower?
Me?
Yeah.
You're the only one that's asked me that. That's so funny. Honestly, it's very similar to you and resilience. Like, there's a lot of, I can spin a load of plates, man. And I can, hold on to some things and process it when it's appropriate. And I can come back. And if I get knocked down, I'm just like, all right, what can I learn from this? And how can I change this or shift it around to where I'm learning and doing better next time? But being okay with that, not beating myself up or focusing on the negative. I have a very good eye for the light, even if it's a freaking dot. I'm like, look at that dot right there. We're gonna walk towards that dot.
Right.
And then just going and trying to be like, yep, I'm gonna walk through the mud for a little while, and I'm okay with that.
Hey, but you're gonna get past it.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I like that you asked me that. You're the first one that's asked me that. That's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything on here, and I'm so glad that you were on today.
Thank you for having me.
I just want to say thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, learned something new, or got a juicy takeaway that will bring in that heck yeah back into your life. I release a new episode each week, so make sure to subscribe. If you love the show, want to share a story, comment below. If you know someone that would love or need this episode, be sure to share it with them. I'm sure they would love you for it. Tag me and find me on social media at Ignited Decisions on Instagram and Shauna with Ignited Decisions on Facebook. I would love to know what episode you listened to and how it helped you, as well as connect on social. Okay, mamas, claim your time and release your inner power.